Hey, everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Holy Hannah. If you've been here a minute, then you know who this is. In fact, there you go. That'll sum it up right there and save a bunch of time. I'm still going to make a real big deal and talk about it, but that does pretty much sum up the answer. You know what? Yeah, I am. Wow, see that? Somebody yelled at me, "You're not live," but I see this thing on my screen that says live, and that's almost always a pretty good sign. Can I get a 5x5?
Let's do that.
All right, that's the spirit. Okay, so this is the other captain of the lifeboat. I talk about Captain Mark all the time. His name comes up here constantly, but he also has a channel that's bigger than the lifeboat by about 2.5 times. So the man's got a lot to do, and when he was on the lifeboat, the two of us could come on here and kind of cut it up because Mark Wages, by the grace of God and by a lot of perseverance, is also a recovered opiate addict. So Mark and I could just riff, come on, talk about who we are and what we went through. But on Wages World, which is a completely different format and a completely different animal, it requires all kinds of work and homework and effort. And we're going to talk about some of that today because a lot of you are meeting Mark for the first time. What's happening, my brother?
Well, I tell you, man, a whole lot is happening.
And you're on this side of the glass.
You know? Yeah, that's a different thing, you know. I don't usually show my face on my channel. So,
well, and on the boat, I mean, I used to. For those who have not gone back and watched old stuff, and shame on you for not going back and watching old stuff. But for those of you who have not gone back and watched some of the older stuff, I used to say, and on the other side of the glass, because he was the producer of the. Yeah, loved. I said the same thing, man.
Yeah,
it's really coming in.
Hate to say it, but we're gonna lose that here. I got to get my license renewed. We don't want this for 8 years. So
I don't know, man. I don't think it's a bad look.
I
don't think it's a bad look. And Kristen, amazing. You know what? Because Kristen's been here so long, that almost sounds crazy to say. But nice to meet you, Mr. Wages. Awesome, yep. Ilea, good to see you, Ilea. How are you? Always a pleasure and an honor. But so for those of you who are new to this, Mark talks about space weather. Now, if you are unaware of the fact that there is such a thing called space weather, I started out that way myself, and I am terrified of all things science. So when I first met Mark, he had come to the lifeboat and reached out to me. Oh, down the rabbit hole. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Perfect timing too. But when Mark reached out to me and said, you know, I have a, and this is how he said it too. I have a little channel too. Well, and when he said that, I had, I think, 600 people or something. So our little channels weren't the same kind of little channels. His channel was huge, but we were very much on the same page in terms of the drugs. I knew nothing about space weather. Mark, do me a favor. For those who don't know, right? Give us a little bit of the thumbnail version of
what space weather is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's probably exactly what you guys think it is. It's weather in space. It's generated from a whole lot of different things. Majority of it comes from the sun. And when we're talking about that, it's just a bunch of plasma. Believe it or not, the Earth is always getting hit with it. And sometimes there's eruptions on the sun. The atmosphere of the sun will open up, called a coronal hole, those kinds of things. And it'll elevate those conditions here. And our magnetic field has to fend it off. Well, sometimes it can't. There was an event back in 1849 called the Carrington event, and I would highly encourage you guys to research some of that because telegraph lines were catching on fire in the operator's hands. Messages were still being sent through the air with no electricity. So this is a very real thing, and believe it or not, I'm not sure if you remember, Tommy, but they used to actually report on this on our local news.
They absolutely did.
And just kind of quit.
Yep, they absolutely used to talk about, and then one day it was like this is funny. Ilea sums it up beautifully. The sun has been very flatulent lately. There's a lot of truth to that. Yeah.
It's we're in a very active time for the sun. It goes in an 11-year cycle. So half of that is in what we call solar maximum, and half of that's in going towards up to. It never stays in the same place. It's either moving towards solar maximum or going into solar minimum. I mean, it's just how it works. And they just measure that by the amount of, they're magnetic fields that pop up through the surface, and they're called sunspots. However many days we go throughout the year with a sunspot that we can see from this side of the sun.
Right.
That's how they measure where you're at in the sun cycle.
Oh, gotcha.
So, and that's that. And I think even at that, that's kind of flawed because it doesn't tell you any kind of power that's been going on. It's simply that number, and that's exclusively what they go by. But it's pretty accurate, believe it or not. You can see the historic data and all that, but space weather really has been a thing for hundreds of years. The Carrington event I just mentioned a minute ago, that really opened up a lot of things. It was Dr. Carrington. That's why they named it the Carrington event. They used to think a solar flare, which is X-ray that just blasts out, right? And a coronal mass ejection was the same thing. It's not. You can have one or you can have the other. They oftentimes happen at the same time. And a coronal mass ejection is nothing more than a bunch of plasma just erupting off the sun violently. And again, guys, our magnetic field has to fend that off. And sometimes it can't do it. It just gets hit. And it is a cycle. It's a historic cycle. Right. It's not a matter of if. It truly is a matter of when we get that big blast again.
Well, and we just had one, right? I mean, the Carrington thing was a while back, but in Russia, this was since I've been out, right? So this thing that happened in Russia, what were we talking about? It had to be within the last 3 years, right? Where there was fire flying out of the sky, kind of crazy.
Yeah. It happens. Hi, Lord Kiss Freak. I can't not say hi to him.
Yeah, right. And for those who don't, the bobbleheaded reference. Because
you see my head doing this a lot.
Because it was always on the other side of the glass. And especially in the beginning, I would come on and what we were talking about was a little different. Mark and I came and started a drug channel and said, hey, if you got a buzz, don't leave. We want you to stay. We don't want you to leave. And I got Mark on the other side going like this. And I'd say, you can't see my bobble-headed partner, but he's doing he's agreeing with me.
There was just so many things we didn't have to say to each other. And then we agreed on almost everything that we were talking about. And it made it very easy to kind of move into what we did.
Yeah.
And, and that was evident what we needed. Well, it wasn't evident at first. We started seeing the comment section. We were getting more comments than we were views.
We were getting 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Comments to views.
So I've never seen that before, and I haven't seen it since. And I'm just being honst.
No, that was rare. That's definitely rare.
That's what pushed us to go, towards the live stream stuff. And that was one of the best decisions you and I guess I had a little bit to do with that. Going into the live stuff. But
Mark's as cool as the other side of your pillow. The live thing was completely 100% Mark's idea. Mark, I know, I'm just keeping it real. Mark saw that one coming long before. Look, I had never done it, and he said to me, he kept saying, "I think they're really going to dig it, man. I really think they're going to dig it, and I think you're going to like it. I really think you're going to." Boy, we went live, and that was the end of that. Everybody just said, "We are a live channel." Tunguska effect, or event rather. Is that the one where the meteor exploded? Yeah, in Russia. That one fascinated me. I love it when big things hit the ground. I'm sorry.
Well, we actually last week we just had the biggest flare we've had since 2017.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was an X63 flare. And what was strange, it was a big sunspot, like I just explained a minute ago. And when they start mixing, their magnetic polarities start to mix. They have what they call reconnection events, and when that happens, that's when it flares. And it's exactly what you think it is, guys. Go out there and light a road flare. I mean, that's really what it looks like on the images. And what you're looking at with a flare, again, is X-ray, and that gets here in 8 minutes. There is no warning for that.
Right.
So when that gets here, depending on who's facing the sun, the day side of the planet will immediately go into radio blackout. It ionizes our atmosphere. So like shortwave radio, ham radio, all that stuff can get really jacked with. It usually lasts about an hour.
Yep.
But it can last for a long time as it starts to kind of fade back away. But the reason why that's important is because first responders use that to communicate.
Amen, right?
So if somebody's having a heart attack or something bad is going on and we get hit with a flare at the same time, it's
imagine if that flare had taken place on 9/11.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We're the only, because I'll tell you something, like I was at the time that took place, I was doing the vast majority of the business I did in my life, I did in New York. And I didn't live in New York. I lived in Utah, but I could not get a phone to ring anywhere in that state, right? It was impossible. And the only communication that anybody had was radios and things like that. That would have been, I can't imagine. I mean, honestly,
well, it's, and here's what I look at, and people, they actually kind of get on me a little bit because I try to keep it down. I don't want no fear. I'm not about that.
Right.
No fear. It's all about just making people aware of what's going on, because when the big stuff does happen, you're not going to get a warning from me. It's already too late.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
the wages world show isn't going to save you if that was coming.
And just to kind of clarify, the X-ray from a flare gets here in 8 minutes. The sun's 93 million miles away from us. It's moving at the speed of light. And when X-rays flash like that, they go out in all directions. So there's no like pinpointed spot.
Right.
But after the flare, like I said, with the big flare, which is what was odd about this one, there was no CME with it. This one last week.
Yeah.
It did not produce a CME, and that is very, very strange. And when it does, again, the CME part of it, which is the plasma eruption, when it takes anywhere between 1 to 5 days to get here, depending on how fast it's moving.
Right.
And with that, you got to kind of keep in mind, obviously, the faster it's moving, the more powerful it is. And our magnetic field is weakening. And,
yes.
Our poles we're headed towards the natural, and I say this all the time, it's a natural progression. It's going to happen. We're going to have a polarity flip. So when that happens, nobody has been here for that event.
We can't check with the last crew,
right?
To ask how it worked out.
We got good ideas, right? I mean, there's something called the equatorial bubble, and at the equator, the ocean levels, most people don't know this, are about 30 feet higher. Okay, and that's because of our magnetic field and our motion that we're going through.
Right.
So when that magnetic field goes to flip, we actually we lose our magnetic field for a period of time. When that happens, that bubble will release. So what happens? Every coastline in the world will flood.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and you're living in Arizona now, so what am I getting ready to say here?
Yeah.
You're going to have oceanfront property, brother.
Exactly. And I might be just high enough where I really might be smoking front property.
And I ain't trying to scare nobody, because it really is. It's a natural progression, and nobody knows when that's going to happen. But I will say we are overdue.
Yes.
We're overdue for that, and it could be any cycle. These next cycles coming up with the sun. The sun can do what it wants, when it wants, and how it wants to do it.
And it doesn't even have to check in with me.
Yeah, and it is the single most influential thing to even our local weather. Right. 2 years ago, we had 2 flares back to back that happened over the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico was facing the sun when those flares hit.
Right.
And both times there was big, I think it was Hurricane Florence, I think one of them was. It hit, and within an hour, it strengthened 2 categories.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's crazy. It's adding, you got to think, it's adding electrons. I mean, it's just adding a whole bunch of energy to our system. And it's just something that people don't understand because it hasn't been talked about.
Well, and I'm glad that you said that, because this only gets talked about normally. It either gets ignored, right? And you're right, root of the sun to not check in with me. It either gets ignored completely, right? Or what you get is fear porn. And I'm not making any friends saying this, because I know that in YouTube, but there is a push, right, for individuals who who do the doomsday thing. I always have loved the fact that I can go on your channel and the first thing that you say always is, hey, look, I'm not trying to freak out anybody, because it really, like you said, 8 minutes, right? 93, what'd you say, 93 million miles?
93 million miles away. Yeah.
In 8 minutes, which, by the way, I had an ex-wife, honest to God. And if she wanted like to get at you, the speed that this woman could go from being nice to being cruel was actually faster than that. I mean, about 3 times faster than that, but that's still pretty impressively quick.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, and to kind of put it into just kind of basic sum of what we're talking about with the magnetic field. Last year, we had a very low level CME hit. It caused a very low level geomagnetic storm. And it shouldn't have gave us any issues. It should have increased the auroras. That's what we expect, because the stuff comes in on the poles. That's where it funnels in.
Right.
South and North Pole. That's why you get your northern and southern lights. That's caused from space weather. What happens is the particles from the sun, or from, you know, coming from the sun, it energizes the molecules in our atmosphere there. And when the colors you see are different molecules, like oxygen, nitrogen. If you see red, it's a nitrogen molecule. If it's green, it's oxygen. And you're not seeing the exciting part of it. What's happened is it's gotten excited. You're seeing that atom going back to its stable state. That's when it produces that color.
Right.
And it just, an aurora is a beautiful thing. Well,
it's one of the coolest things in the world to look at. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never seen them with my own eyes. And it really sucks, but I'm going to make that happen.
I did. I've on a couple of different occasions. Once while hiking at night for a ski thing,
right.
And then once in college, we went out onto the roof of a building. And thank God, you know, you look back on things and think, how did nobody die that night? Like we had to break the lock off of the door so that we could get up onto the roof, and everybody was lit up. Matrix Rabbit, hold on just real quickly. A misunderstanding, because we've got 7 different people here who go by the name Rabbit. No one was busting on you. It was a misunderstanding because we have so many different rabbits. They were not talking to you. We have a bunch of rabbits. So that was just a misunderstanding. We have Down the Rabbit Hole. We've got, I mean, there are so many of you. It's just, we got a lot of rabbits. So, but I always loved that. I love that when I go to Wages World, I'm not going to walk away feeling, number one, like I'm not very bright, which happens to me a lot. I've been super honest and open about this. And the older I get, the more I struggle with it. But you have a way of making the subject matter understandable and not making people feel like they need a freaking PhD. Hello, V.
Hey, Miss V.
PhD.
Hey, Charlie. I consider myself, because I don't have that higher knowledge like a college level professor would, a physicist, a space physicist, you know, any of these guys that I watch to learn from. You know, Tamitha Scove, she's awesome. I highly encourage everybody to go watch her channel. That is college grade material explained to you how you can understand it.
For the same reason that you're good. She's good. For the same reason. Again, you don't feel like you're being talked down to. That's the only other one that I honestly, I'm going to end up bashing people by accident. But I tend to leave other channels because they make me feel like I'm not very bright. But she does not.
Right. And when somebody uses a slinky as a prop to explain something, you know you're in the right spot.
That's right. As opposed to a pickle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Pickle on a stick. Pickle on a stick, baby. Yeah.
So here's a question for you, Mark. Why is the weather changing every year in the Northeast?
Well, I'm not really the climate change guy, but I would say that the magnetic field itself is a big contributor to that. It is a fact. Nobody can, no matter what side you are on this subject, whether you think it's happening or not, you can look at the data, and our magnetic field right now is 25% weaker than what it used to be.
There's no question.
You can't argue that. It's just what we get. It's the readings we get. So with that being said, you're getting more space weather that just keep pounding us at all times. So, you know, for 25% weaker, it's probably not 25% more getting in.
Right.
It's probably like 5% or whatever, but that's enough. That's enough
Absolutely.
to start changing things.
All kinds of things. Yep.
You know, just to put that in perspective, we have something called the South Atlantic Anomaly. It's in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's a really, you can think of it like the Bermuda Triangle lore, you know, where people would fly and all the magnetics don't work, compasses don't work, and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
That happens today in that spot. And it's a big area. So big that now they went and remapped it back out. It has actually split, and now there's two anomalies right next to each other, and it covers all of South America and part of Africa.
I'll be there.
So I mean, you're not every time like planes and stuff can still fly.
Sure.
I'm saying. It's just you see weird things. It's a weaker spot in our magnetic field.
Yeah, the electronics go wonky. There you go.
Yeah, pretty much. And without getting into some big deep, and that's one thing I won't do. Just throw a bunch of word salad at somebody. I've caught myself like reading articles on my channel, and I just have to stop. I'll stop and say, guys, I'm sorry. I understand what's being said because I look at this all the time. But I definitely know I understand that most of you probably can't understand this because you don't do this. That's why you're listening to me.
Do you remember the show that we did about the you know what? I'm 21 minutes in, so we're cool. I've been playing with this. We're cool. You remember the show that we did about the vaccine for fentanyl? Okay. Well, I remember reading that one with you, and the two of us were going back and we're like, we're trying to take this thing and make it so that we can have a conversation with everyone else and not sound like we're just confusing the crap out of people because we do read that stuff every single day. You know, but hey, Six Sour, good to see you, man.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and it just you know, the space weather thing, I never got into this till like 6 years ago. I started my channel with a phone with a broken screen.
No.
And that's no.
I remember you talking about ghetto. What was the term you used?
Yeah. I was ghetto YouTubing is what I was doing, and you know, I never really had any intention of really having a channel. It just kind of happened. And once you start doing it, and you just feel, you know, I don't know. And as you know, I just now recently monetized, and I could have been monetized 4 years ago.
You know what? And I'm glad that you have. I really am. You know, gives people an opportunity to let you to support you doing what you're doing, and you work hard for it. But I'll tell you what, as you remember well, we did not have a green light. We did not have a green light on one video for 2.5 years. They did not green light a video for 2.5 years. Then one day I did a video, I swear to you, right? And the video was called China is Behind the fentanyl epidemic, right? Like I just went, screw this. I came out, I said every single thing you cannot say in a video. I promise you. I went through the list and was like being an idiot about it. Like I'm repeating it and going, screw y'all anyway. And the following day I woke up, I kid you not, and that video was green. And I went, there's no way in hell.
Crazy, isn't it?
And they just started going, dit, 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 dit. I think that video got people so angry that they actually went back and started to look at the other ones and went, this guy's not pushing drugs.
Right.
And we finally got, and I mean, going back to the very first video, like Domino's, there's only, I think, 3 or 4 that they flag us on. Yeah.
It's scary as a YouTuber to see that, you know, because you don't, it's
you
so
have
vague.
No idea. There's no
so
rules.
Vague.
There's no rules.
It's unfortunate. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but Pyre's channel got completely demonetized. His whole channel.
No.
He's done on YouTube.
No.
And it was what did they say? It was for dangerous content or something. Yeah, and I'm like, what in the world? No way. What is dangerous about what he? I just, you know, and
must have been that beat seat. You know, there's dangerous as hell.
A drum's really gonna, a drum for guitarists is really gonna scare a lot of people.
He's referring to a friend of both channels by the name of Mark Wages. I mean, Mark Pyers. That was a wow, that's horrible.
It is. He's actually going to switch over to Rumble.
You know something? That's a great. I think that's probably a great platform.
I think so
for
too.
him.
I do, because you can say pretty much what you need to over there and not have to really worry about a whole lot.
Yep, you can let it fly over there. And you know something, I hope that he does some more stuff with his. I think he does imitations of voices as well as.
Oh my God!
A lot of some of the really early stuff when I first met him, and he was doing all of the stuff for the former president. His name you can say at any point in the video and demonetize yourself.
Yep.
Like I don't care when you mention Orange, our former president, 45. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah, his first video, actually, he took like a 4-year break from making videos before he really started into it. Yeah. His initial, people don't know it, but he was the runner-up VH1 Song of the Year. Yeah, they used his, I think they used his song in the series The Real World. Yes, and he's very talented, and his comedy, his satire is just, it's on point, and it really is, and and he puts so much effort. It's so hard to watch bad things happen to people that do that, and it just sucks.
Well, and you want to talk about effort? That cat did. I mean, what was he on? 1,600 and he's
like 1,800 now, I think.
1,800. He didn't miss a day. I mean, he did not miss a day for so long.
Siggy's in here, that's Mark's friend. That's how I met Mark, was through Sig. So, I mean, it's amazing how, and I was so glad to see you branch out into other genres, because there's addiction everywhere.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, that's what I've been fortunate in that the true crime thing gets your foot in the door to a lot of different, but 3%, right? 3% of every audience that we walk into is hopelessly addicted. That's just how the numbers are going to play out every single time. Right.
Yeah. And it's on my channel, the chats, believe it or not, are very similar. We're very much a family type of thing, and
no question.
And I guess a lot of them came from here.
Well, it would be impossible. It would really be impossible for it not to be. So if you're new to the boat in the very early days of this, we ate some fish.
Yeah,
no man. We ate some really, really foul fish. And Mark Wages said, you know what? If we got to get him to 1,000, right? If he's going to eat this fish. And a bunch of people from Wages World came over, and that was the first real huge influx we had. Was Johnny and Chase the Heat and Wages World. We got probably 1,600 subscribers between the two channels, and booyah! All of a sudden, we were in business. And you know what's odd? The taste of that fish just got out of my mouth about 15 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Now,
I don't doubt it. I can imagine, man. I just don't know. I don't know how Johnny does it. I mean, Johnny's a goat anyway. So, but it's.
Yeah, and you don't mean the greatest of all time. You just mean that he could eat, tin cans, garbage, whatever.
I think I meant, car. To save myself here, I think I meant he is the greatest of all time. So we'll go with that one. I'm scared of Johnny. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Johnny's my brother, for real. What do I tell you guys? Who do I pick up the phone for? You and Johnny.
No question. Question.
That and there's a couple others, and they know who they are. But
Daniel Theobald, I think Daniel Theobald. I think you're probably right. You know what? Here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with free speech, and most of what all of us have to do is try to walk a line as close as we can. I honestly feel blessed to hell, because I used to say stuff like, the dark stuff or the white stuff or the marching powder, the stuff you put up your nose, and then I just said screw it and started saying coke, heroin, methamphetamine, banging it, shooting it, all the stuff they tell you not to, and working out anyway.
Yeah, it will. And
eventually, I think eventually with this channel anyway, I think they realize that we're not out promoting this.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, because they actually give us the opportunity to rate our own videos. Yeah, and if you rate those appropriately, they leave you alone for the most part.
Look at that. I came over when Mark said the
Miss Dragon, she's awesome.
Look at this. speaking of ghetto YouTube, do you see this?
Oh, that's your
Huh?
tablet.
Yeah, do you see this? That was the first 2 years of the lifeboat was right on this puppy. I can't get rid of it. I can't get rid of it. I'm gonna get a frame for it, right? And I'm gonna put it in the frame and get it up on the wall.
Yeah, but back to the geomagnetic storm I was talking about earlier to give people a better idea. And I'm bringing this up because the big names involved. Elon Musk and SpaceX.
Don't get any bigger than that.
No, it doesn't. They fired a rocket up launching some Starlinks. This is about a year ago. And we had a G1 storm at that same exact time. And they launched in these conditions over and over and over and over and over again. Well, this time it knocked 22 of the satellites completely dead. They fell out of the sky. They lost. They couldn't. They. What it did is, to give a little bit of understanding to that, when you get hit with stuff like that, it's particles. Particles. I know when you think of particle, you think something really, really small.
Right.
But we're particles. It's a whole bunch of them. So, so when you add more, what happens? Well, you're adding drag. So the satellites go through that drag plus the X-ray and any other electronic whatever is going on there, ionization and things like that. They can't get the satellites into their orbit. They lost 22 satellites. But what's funny?
What the hell happens on planet Earth when 22 things that we've got up there? I mean, we got to assume they're doing their job, right? Whatever's up there, it's sending you down some reality TV. It's sending these people some information. It's doing some stock trading. What the hell happens when 22 of them stop?
And that's the thing, Well, I guess we're just lucky that the planet's 70% water. Because I would imagine,
right?
70% of them fall in water. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can, because people ask me, why don't these flares hit higher populated areas? Well, the planet's 70% water. It's going to affect mariners more than it's going to do anybody.
Well, if you fly across the U.S. too, you don't see a whole lot of light at night. You see about 5 centers that have light, and the rest of them you're just flying over a real dark country anyway. But
that same event happened a week later to a different company, same storm situation, and they lost 10 satellites. So why is that happening with these very low level geomagnetic storms? And it's because our magnetic field's weakening.
Right.
It continues to weaken, and it will continue. Our poles are going towards each other. Negative and positive attract. You have to understand that. It's exactly like a bar magnet. It really is. The magnetic fields that come off our planet are that way. And so when they start moving, I think it was 2 years ago, they go every 5 years and actually go to the North Pole or wherever they think magnetic north is and physically stand there and find it. Okay. They do that every 5 years because they use this to map out a whole lot of different things now. But one of the big things that they use that for is the direction of runways. Planes started lining up wrong because our magnetic north had moved too far too quick. So they had to go back a year early. And that's never been done before. So, is it going to happen in our lifetime? I don't know. I've even started saying that I nowcast. I don't forecast stuff anymore.
You're a nowcaster?
I'm a nowcaster, man.
Looks like it's not raining, like that kind of thing. I like it.
I mean, I'll give it, a 24-hour type of thing, but I'm not going to. How am I going to forecast something that's 93 million miles away 5 days out in advance? Right. I ain't going to be able to do that.
And get on it because it's going to get here within 8 minutes once it happens. So you better be on your game, right? You got no time to kill.
Right. And they're getting better. Okay. I mean, obviously this isn't something that's been around for a whole long time. I mean, if you just the fact that the space age itself isn't very old. Right. So, it just makes it, people assume that everything should just be perfect this way and we should know this and know that. And there's a really cool new technology they're using now. They're using seismic activity on the sun. Yes, the sun has seismic activity. Okay. It's not a rock. So I don't, it's a big old ball of gas, but they can use that seismic activity to map out what the backside of the sun looks like. It's crazy. But
I guess I never even thought of the sun having another side.
You know yeah, what I mean? Well, the reason that's important is because, you know, when we're orbiting the sun, we want to know what's going on in front of us. But you also want to know what's going to be there a week from now.
Right.
It's going to rotate and be looking at us.
Right.
So it's beneficial to see that. And, you know, just those kinds of things. But and they sent the one, and most people know about the Parker SP probe. It's the satellite they sent to kiss the sun. It got into the atmosphere of the sun. First one ever. Because they still haven't figured it out completely why the atmosphere of the sun is hotter than the surface. Yeah, chalk that one up. Try to figure that one out.
Right.
I don't have an answer.
I'm so blown away by the concept that they're going to send something, right, that's going to get close enough to kiss the, you know, even. I've always had this image in my head that when things get, you know, 20, 30 miles away, they're just going to go right, and then, or maybe 20, 30, you know, 1,000 miles away. It just seems like a big ball of stuff. The scientists want to. This is it. I'm sorry. Osirwen sums it up. Scientists want to give the sun a colonoscopy.
It's a good one. Love it.
Too soon? Too soon, Charlie Murphy? Sorry about that. Is that too soon? Charlie had one yesterday. I'm sorry.
But it's one of those things, you know, because people ask, well, how can Mercury be there in that spot for that long and not get just destroyed? Well, it is destroyed.
Right.
I mean, it's a big rock with no atmosphere.
Yeah, not much real estate for going for good money.
Yeah. Well, just to give another example, if you want to know what our planet could look like after a magnetic pole flip and a big CME, look at Mars.
Right, I was about to say there is one out there we could probably get a look at.
Mars used to have a very vibrant atmosphere, and it got blasted with solar weather, and it ripped it right away. Never came back. And
so people like Elon are looking for the next place to go because they think we're going to be
probably
Mars.
That would be my guess. And again, those people are way smarter than I am. I'm reporting on what they say and teach. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not something I can do the math to tell you how the direction things are going, but it takes a long time. Those equations are not easy. And that's why nowadays they got algorithms. They just push a button. So, I mean, it is accurate. A lot of it is very, very accurate. It's getting, you know, they say what we're 50 years ahead or behind what they actually have.
Right.
But you'll still never, ever get me to agree that they lost the technology to go back to the rock that orbits us. So,
well, and
it blows my mind. It really blows my mind.
Well, that's really a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
that gets on that's on that border too, Tommy, where you start talking about that kind of stuff, they will. Especially, I mean, you will get smacked.
Yep.
And it is not an easy subject to talk about and get away with.
Yeah.
You know.
No, and that's fascinating to me. You know what? I haven't been to Trinity's in at least a week. Trinity's still there? Doing okay? Okay, good. Starting to get nervous. I love Trinity's voice. I fall asleep to Trinity's voice when I can't fall asleep. If I'm having headaches or problems like that, Trinity's voice for me. And there are people who say that I'm doing some ASMR stuff. I'm recording some stuff right now because there are people that have asked a lot
about your voice.
Yeah.
I can see that. No, I really
I have come to believe that everybody does have that voice. There's a voice out there for everybody that does sort of put your brain on it. And I'm telling you, mine is Trinity.
Trinity, red pill, blue pill, hi ho, Kermit the Frog here is her channel name.
And she pops up on the boat from time to time. I love Trinity, and her voice absolutely soothes me. There's something amazing.
Yeah, you know, and Rip's here too. Rip Girl Readiness. He's here all the time.
Yep.
And believe it or not, I'm here all the time too. I just don't chat a whole lot because I'm usually typing away on something else.
I was mentioning that this morning. I was mentioning that on one of the earlier boats. I said, you know, more often than not, same with Johnny. I promise that's coming, Azerwan. We end up on each other's channels a lot.
Yeah.
But if you pop in and you go, hey, how you doing? You know, the bigger you get as a channel, and no one's complaining about that, I promise.
It
promise I'm not.
drags. Yeah.
But it ends up screwing up the chat for a bunch of people. And the last thing in the world I want to do is go in there and you know, shut everything down. But I do love. You just realized there's a kitten cam? Of course. Are we uncivilized? Of course there's a kitten cam.
You know, I started, well, how I met you was because I was watching Johnny's channel.
Yeah.
And it really, and I never have ever stopped watching his channel. It's just good content. You know, it's just good. It really is. It's not, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up Johnny's butt because we're friends or whatever, but it's just the truth. And I know it embarrasses him when we do this, but he's
getting better at it. I told him, you know what, man, when you get a reality show, right? And the numbers were ridiculous, like 6 million or something that saw it in the first week or whatever.
Yeah.
You better just take it now. You better just quiet down, right? Deal with your L word and shut, you know, hey, how are you? Speak of the devil.
Well, when people are like trying to push it out, they don't even know, Johnny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know that's good stuff. And it just really is. And it's and you know, I hate to say it, but unless I was watching Johnny, I still, and it sounds really ridiculous, I still couldn't eat ketchup. Because my health issues.
No, I know that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I got really bad infections, so I had a bunch of antibiotics, and it gave me thrush, and it completely just destroyed my palate. And I couldn't eat ketchup; it burnt me.
Yeah.
I mean, like to where like a normal person would be taking a little bit of probably like, I don't know, ghost pepper, hot sauce or something, something kind of low level, not really like way up here, but. I know when I'm eating to the point now where my wife actually, when she's cooking and stuff like that, she adjusts what's going on. So like, for instance, we have, she makes these quesadillas. She'll make 2 different pans, one for the rest of the family and one for me. Cause I cannot, and I'm getting better. It's starting to build back. It's kind of like, can you remember when you were 4 and ate something spicy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How
sitting on top of me.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's kind of like starting over again for me. So that's where I'm at with that. But
well, that's good. I'm on the other way. I'm going the other way. I'm trying to get away from anything hot. Yeah. But I live with Johnny Scovel, which is an issue. You know what I mean? It really is. It's an issue. But
yeah. But you know, I just think that all genres of stuff that we do, it should all be connected. And you know, you talk about connection all the time, and it is connection. It's exactly what brings people back. And you know, let them have a voice. And that's what I do in my chat. As long as it don't get to name calling or being disrespectful or bashing. Here's one thing I don't allow, and a lot of other channels will. Like if I say they know I don't like a specific person or their channel,
they'll start trashing that person in your comment section. No. We didn't lose him, did we? Hopefully, we're going to have him back here shortly, folks. But that is a policy of Mark's and has been for a really long time. In fact, it's been a policy of Mark's since I met him, and that is that there he is. Mark has never let anybody bash on another creator, even if it's a creator that he doesn't like, which I think I have a problem with that. Like, I don't let people bash creators. But if they're bashing like 1 or 2 in particular that I really hate, sometimes I'm a little slow to shut them down. I should probably be better at that.
There's a difference of doing a little light trolling than there is like a complete just over the head smack. Yeah. You know what I mean? And here's what I do. I will attack the subject matter that's being talked about. I leave the personal stuff completely out of it. Like if somebody has an idea I don't agree with, I'll come on and talk about it.
Me too. I think that's a great thing. I'm all about apologizing if I screw up. I'm all about coming on and because that all that's healthy stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean? All of that's healthy stuff.
Well, 3 weeks ago, I had to go do something with my daughter in the afternoon, and I seen something happen on the Sun early on. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do a live stream that night. So I popped on very early when it happened, and I got it wrong because I did that. I don't typically do that. I have to wait. I need to have some patience and wait to see how things are moving and get the correct data in to give people the right information. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to be on. So about 3 weeks ago, it looked like we had a CME was going to be coming at us, and it was actually going 180 degrees the other way. So I got that wrong. And what was the first thing I did? I come right back out and say, hey, guys, I got that wrong. Why would I just ghost that? I mean, that's just
I
respect
the crap out of that. I did a video about a week ago that was called "Boy, Do I Wish I Didn't Do That Last Video," and it was so misunderstood, honestly, because people thought what I said. I did not want to keep. Every time somebody talked about Danny, I didn't want to have to come back and say, "Here's why this is BS." And in the process of telling people, I set myself up to do exactly that. And that's what I meant by, boy, I wish I hadn't done that. And people were like, oh, got it wrong? I didn't get it wrong.
Right.
I never said I got it wrong. That wasn't part of the apology. By the way, to this day, still didn't get it wrong. But I hate talking about it. I really, but respectful debate is a beautiful thing. I'll tell you something. Some of the best debates we ever had were just you and me.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
We would get on a subject, and I think a lot of times we might even take a little bit of a side that we didn't necessarily feel 100% in favor of because we knew someone in the audience did, but the two of us would just kind of riff off it. So there's some gold in the early shows. Noise Opera, good to see you, Mark, he says.
And as much as I knew I couldn't keep doing it, doesn't mean I just as much wanted to keep doing it.
You never stopped.
It was hard. It was hard for me to walk. It really was.
I guarantee it was.
It was brutal for me. Ask my wife.
I guarantee it was.
It was, and I didn't walk, but I mean, when I say walk, I didn't turn my back and walk away. It's just, and I guess what I'm saying is when I did take that month or two before I really started watching everything again, because I don't know that I could have walked away if I hadn't have done that, because I still would have been.
Yeah.
It was hard, man. It makes me sad still to this day, but I got a daughter and a family, and there's just two. You know how things go. When we've already talked about all that,
and a chair that says Mark on it every single time you want to walk in here and sit down, man. I ain't going nowhere, man. I ain't going nowhere. But you know what? Look, it's this is something that I think people. I dig the fact that what we do is live, and I love the fact that we interact with people. But I'll tell you what. I remember, when I met Mark, I knew less about YouTube than anybody on planet Earth. I mean, literally, you want to talk about a guy that knew nothing about the internet and certainly about YouTube. And I was learning on the fly, but at the same time we were doing that, Mark was running a big channel, more than 50,000 people by that point. It's a big channel. And we were building another one at the same. I can't imagine building one to 50 and then going, all right, let's try again. I really had zero. I had zero perspective.
Well, I mean, there were some growing pains,
Ooh, do you think?
I mean, there really was. When we first, most people, we talked about it once, I think, because when we first tried to go live, it wouldn't let me go live from my location on your channel. You remember that?
No.
So it was like a week later. I did an update on OBS, and anybody that has a channel knows what that is. The second I did that, it fixed it. So it was like, okay, now let's do it. And then we just kind of took off. Thank you, Ali. I appreciate you, sister. For real. And we get so many crossover people. And I think it breeds the same attitude and it breeds the same kind of environment. It just really does. And Johnny's got the same thing going on his channel and Ripper, Trinity. You guys ever go over and watch Trinity's channel, you won't be disappointed. You really won't.
No, it's there's absolutely the same. The reason that you keep going to the same places and seeing the same people is because, we used to say here all the time that the opposite of addiction is connection. The opposite of everything effed up is connection.
Yep.
I promise you it is. It's the cure to virtually everything. And if it's not, it sure as hell is the treatment. Right? If it ain't going to cure what's wrong with you, it sure as crap is going to treat what's wrong with you. Right. So, and we're seeking it. We're seeking it. And I see people that seek it in, one place or another, but when you see the same people on 15 different subject matters,
it brings a certain, I guess, I don't know, dynamic to everything that it's kind of like what we said when we first talked to each other. There was a whole lot of things we just didn't even need to say. So when you have the same people, same like-minded stuff, you don't really have to explain to that level. You know what I mean? So you get to get in there a little bit deeper because of that. You got more time. You're able to talk about a different thing because you're already either agreeing or disagreeing with whatever you're talking about. You're able to move past it and go to something different. And that's just, like I got to give props to Adam and Dex too, over on Marfugal. I mean, my channel would not be half of what it is.
No way in hell, right? No way in hell. And
not at all.
And really just classy people, and who do a tough job. You realize how hard it is, honestly, to do what they do and do it the way they do it and to stay in business. I mean, honest to God in heaven, if that doesn't make you take your hat off, then you just don't understand what we do for a living. The fact that they're still around is incredible. Thank you, Carousel. The fact that they're still around is absolutely astounding.
It's impressive and not everybody gets to see this nowadays, because if you're a guest on the channel, like I've been a guest there quite a few times, you're privy to kind of the back office stuff a little bit. They have a checklist that they run down before, and it's like, this is impressive.
160 words on it.
Yeah, I'm like, well, didn't they run? No kidding. Like, Dex will make sure Adam has his medicine next to him. Those kinds of things, like an inhaler that he has because he has asthma and stuff.
Yeah.
So he wants to make sure all that's there. He wants to make sure that this is this. They learn through all that, and they've added more and more things to the list. And if you go watch their channel, that is a well-oiled machine.
There's no question. There is no question. And even when
good for you, Ilea. Good for you, girl.
This is for Ilea. That is bigger than anything we're going to talk about here today. Good for you, man. That is awesome. Sorry.
Yep.
That's awesome. Even if you start, listen, you know what? Harm reduction, all the things. Remember all the things we used to talk about in the beginning that, boy, now people are coming around. All the stuff that sounded crazy doesn't sound so crazy anymore, does it?
It doesn't. It's amazing.
It is. We got a whole crew of people, Mark, that don't think we're nuts anymore.
Who was talking about nitazines before us?
Nobody.
Now it's everywhere. It's on all the news stations and everything.
Isn't that
it's
nice?
Like, I ain't saying we started it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying we seen it. And
you know what's funny? I was on a show the other night with a DEA agent, and he said, who knows what's next? I said, I do. So I'll tell you what's next right now, because it's already here, brother. Like, he's like, I'm sure there's already something else out there. So I'll tell you what it is. 36 states already been busted in. I mean, it's everywhere. It is everywhere.
And again, I know it's a little on the conspiratorial side, but the jab they have for that now to be immune to it. Specific opiates. Okay. Yep. And I know we've talked about this before, but if you
funded
look
by
at
who?
If you look at it, the big scheme of things, if they gave all of our soldiers that jab, right, and then dumped a bunch of fent in the air, what would happen? Nothing to our soldiers.
Nothing.
But everybody else.
Not to mention the fact that you could literally, just quadrant it off and let it rain for about 2 or 3 months. Everything would be gone. You do not even have to go in there and do anything to it.
Nothing at all. And that's, and as we dug into that, because when we seen that, I think it kind of shocked me and you both that was a thing.
The Department of Defense, we're like, the DOD,
like years ago, like years and years ago. I'm like, wow. I mean, where has this been?
A long time.
So, I mean, and again, those are things that we were able to talk about because we didn't have to talk about the others. You know what I mean? Because we already, before we would do a show on it, we talked a lot in the background. And so we didn't have to really worry about if you understood something or if I did, because we knew we understood it.
You know, it's funny. It's funny too. You were talking about Marfugel. Funny story. One of the channels. There's another channel that I go on a regular basis that saw me on Marfugel, reached out to me, and the channel was like this big, and said, "Would you come on the channel?" I said, "Sure, absolutely." The channel is now this big. It's now one of the biggest channels you'd ever want to see in your life. It's massive, right? Like
Really?
they went boom.
Boom. Did they?
But they saw me off of they had first seen me off of Marfugel. And when they asked me on the first time, they literally said, "I know it's probably not usually something you do when you go on a channel that's smaller than yours, but this is not going to be a small channel for long." And I said, "No, I'm happy to be invited on, whatever." Yeah. And he said, thanks for doing this. And I promise you, when I get bigger, I'm never going to forget you. And they call all the time. But awesome. If it wasn't for Marfugel, right? If it wasn't for Marfugel, and it's a fun world.
It really truly is. I've gotten to where I guess I've kind of always been this way, but I judge my success by the way I've helped others succeed.
No question.
That's just how I've always done things. And it's always worked for me, not just to help other people, but in some ways it's actually kind of selfish because it does reciprocate back. It might not be intentional when you're doing it like that, but if you can do that and you can get yourself to do that, it's the same thing. I won't loan my family money. If I have it, I give it to them.
That's because it's a hell of a lot safer.
I'm not going to sit here and wonder when you're going to pay me my money back, because that just starts a bunch of negative stuff. So if I got it to loan to you, I got it to give. And that's just how I look at it. And it's the same mind thought, when you're going down those kinds of things, I just can't understand people that want to hold people down.
It is a mindset thing. I think that there's you know what it is? There are two philosophies in life, in YouTube, in everything, right? There is the prosperity versus the scarcity, right? And there are people who do believe that. So there are people on YouTube who believe that there are a finite number of views and we're all fighting for them, which is really, in all honesty, one of the funniest things. If you honestly try to sit and wrap your brain around it, it's the dumbest thing. You honestly got to suspend any kind of logical thought to have. But there are people who believe this. It's not a zero-sum game. The more people you help on YouTube, the bigger you're going to get. I promise you.
I agree.
The more people you help on YouTube, the bigger you're going to get.
Even if, I've been on other people's, when they would ask me to come on, it's usually a smaller channel or whatever. But a few of those I went on, they totally disagreed with what I was talking about.
Yep.
Right. But we were able to have a conversation, and that's the point. And at the end of the day, did I believe how they believed? No. Did I change their mind? No. But somebody in the audience might have got a little out of it, and that's the point that I try to do. In a formal debate, I guess most people don't understand that you're not there to change your opponent's mind, because you're not going to do that. You're talking to the audience. That's who you're talking to.
Correct.
So it kills me when I see that. It's like, why are you going in so hard on this guy or girl or whatever? It's like, dude, back up. The audience is watching you and they don't dig that crap. I promise. Now, there's times where you got to go in on people. Okay, I'm not saying that.
They come in with a pickle on a stick.
Yeah, exactly. Pickle on a stick and a golf ball. There you go. But we'll leave that one. Yeah, 15 seconds.
I got one for you. Question for Mark. When and how did you figure out you were interested in space weather enough to be able to talk about it for hours on YouTube?
Whoa, that's a great question.
Is that not a great question?
Well, I'll tell you. I guess what happened for me is I was in a place where I had some downtime, right? So I had a lot of time to surf the YouTubes. Anyway, and just looking at interesting stuff like on the conspiratorial side, even the mainstream side. I watch all of it. Okay, I don't discriminate when it comes to that. And I came across the channel that was talking about space weather in a conspiratorial way. And I just thought it was interesting. That's all it was, really. And it did get pretty deep into some stuff that I didn't agree with 100%, but some of it looked like, yeah, maybe, that kind of thing. So that got me started to look at that. And then they were showing images from the models that I show today. And I didn't understand what they were trying to show me. And I couldn't get it off my mind that I couldn't be the only one that was feeling like that.
Right. Right.
So I dug into it, and I've always been interested in space, right? But not to this. I mean, I seen that, and it really just sucked me in. Once I started learning how the models worked and what I was actually looking at and all that kind of thing, and I understood what was trying to be shown the way that it's supposed to, that's what got me in it. And that's where I'm here now. You know, I was sending my information off to a bigger channel, and the data I was sending over, it quit letting me, the files got too big.
Right.
So how I remedied that is I made a video, posted it on my channel as like private, and sent him a link. That's how my channel
occurred to you.
Yeah. And then just one day, it just kind of, people were like, hey, you really need to start putting some content out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing this just because I seen this and I had a question, that kind of thing, right? It just took off. And when it did, and again, I got very fortunate because that channel was 100,000 sub channel. The fact that he actually took the time to even talk to me kind of amazed me. And you know, he's not on YouTube anymore. His name was Steve Olson.
Yeah.
WSO. And again, he was talking about wormwood, you know, wormwood system observations was the WSO part. Yeah. And again, I don't get into that stuff anymore. I just want to report on space weather. You know, that's what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what my opinion is. That's why I nowcast.
Yeah.
I'll give you the information. This is exactly what Adam and Dex do. They have a complete bibliography of every show. And they will tell you, go read it for yourself. Don't believe me. Go look at the information. Here's the source. Go read it. So I took a key off of that, and I do the same thing. So I just give people the information and let them decide. They're smart enough. People don't think they're smart enough to understand it, but I promise you are.
You know, I hope everybody's paying attention. If you ever had something, because this is a great study, honestly. You know, Mark, the way that Mark just described this, right? As you're in the process of going through this, right? I'm the same guy. I'm in prison and I'm sitting in a class, and they're asking me to go through my childhood, and I said, yeah, my parents are still married. No, I had a great childhood. You know what I mean? Like no problem there. My parents didn't beat me. There was none of those things, and they just weren't having it. They were like, no, there's something in your childhood. I'm like, look, man, like I mean, you know, and I remember thinking to myself in the room, I can't be the only person, right, that just started partying because they liked the fact that it got them high. And then because I started so young, coping skills and all the other things that I should have developed, I just decided to continue to do drugs instead, right? But I didn't have that major, massive, you know, life thing that they wanted me to. But it's the same kind of thing. If you find yourself saying to yourself, I can't be the only one, start a channel.
Yep, right? Exactly. You're not the only one, I promise.
Because you're not. You're not the only one.
You might start a new genre. You never know.
That's right.
And it's
right, like
really
a drum channel that'll let people come to it if they're high.
Yeah.
That may not sound like insane, but honest to God, it was 3 or 4 years ago.
What did we stop? We stopped the show like 2 or 3 times to help somebody.
We're up to 4 now.
Is it 4 now?
We're up to 4 now where we've just had to pull the plug and said, sorry, somebody needs help.
Dude, we got to get on the phone and help this person. Talking to people in Hawaii to save the person in another state here. Remember that? That was a
big time.
That was a day.
Driving down the road. Oh, that was.
Man,
that was terrific.
That was scary.
Renee Woods, good to see you. Glad you're here, Renee.
Hey, Renee.
Glad that you're here. Yeah, that was frightening. There's been a bunch of them. You know, we've had some adventures, and some highs and lows.
I'm proud of what I did when I was here with you.
I should hope
I'm proud of you, period, for doing what you're doing now. I just think
there wouldn't be a boat without. When I tell you I didn't know anything, I am not joking, man. Like he could tell you I didn't know anything. I mean, not a lick, right? I could hit play. I didn't understand anything else. He would say things like, you know, well, if you look up the analytics page, I'm like, how are you talking about? You know, he'd be like, well, in studio, where's the studio button? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's an app. I mean, people, I knew nothing.
Well, and that's the thing. I expected that though. I knew that was because you weren't out very long.
No, and you want to talk about a patient cat, people? Mark can tell you, man. I struggle, man. Like I struggle with patience. It is my Achilles heel, right? And if you knew, like I was having a day once with that camera. I've told the story so many times on the boat, but I'm running up the stairs to my house to get the other camera, and the broken one that I just showed you, that laptop, I mean that iPad is still on, and I am calling Mark every 4-letter word in the book. Not because Mark's done anything wrong, because it's completely my fault. But I can't blame it on me. I can't yell at myself. So I'm just calling him and the funniest part is we do the show, right? And the show's over, and Mark's like, boy, really letting him fly there in the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing at all. He wasn't bummed out. He didn't take anything personally at all. He just and he could have said it right before I went live and probably decimated the show. Just let it go. But then in the end, it was like, you were live the whole time you were running up the stairs. You know that, right? Like
me and you were connected live together on Zoom. Yeah, and that's before we went live for the show.
No. Oh no, really? I'm like, boy, I'm sorry. He's like, no, you're good. Like I
even tried to I think I tried to text because I think at the time you had 2 numbers. I think I tried to text your other phone and said, dude, shut that off. It was funny. I get it. People get upset and they say things, and it is what it is. I knew you didn't mean any of it. Well, you might have meant a little of it. I don't know.
And you know what, people? If you build one of these things, you know, you build it and they will come.
Yep. I
love V. V will tell you. You know what? We went through it, people. We went through it. I'm telling you, we went through all of it. And if you got 50,000 subscribers, then you've already been through it 25 times. But Mark had to watch me go through all of it for the first time and put up with all of it. So Mark was a saint. I'm not kidding you.
I'm just glad I was there, because I don't know that you would have continued if somebody didn't have that patience for you.
I don't know that I would have.
That would have been sad to me. I mean, you got so much to give back, and what you were doing, what you're doing now is just it's too important to not keep going.
No, I agree with you. And it is. It truthfully is. We've done some really, really cool stuff. You know, we really have. We've done some really cool stuff, and you know something? God bless the people out there who are still doing it. They have yet to give up. But it's an excellent example. You just every once in a while, Lisa Marie, good to see you. Every once in a while, you just want to go like this. I'm not trying to be a dick. We were at 1,300 when you started doing this. We're at 20,000. You're at 620 and you're at 630. Maybe come up with a new business model, bro.
Exactly.
And you know, I got to do that if you're here. I really do, because Mark has sweated through so many.
If you get let's just, for example, say you get 2,000 views on this video, I guarantee you one of those views came from them.
Oh, sure.
They're watching every show.
Never has missed one. You know what? I was talking about this with a friend the other day. They said to me, do you think there's anybody, because Charlie doesn't miss a video, man. Charlie leaves a comment on all the people that have been here that have been here just forever, right? Somebody said to me, do you think that there's anybody that's not missed one? I said, oh, yeah, I know 2 people.
Oh, yeah.
I know 2 people. I guarantee you have not missed one. So,
well, they've at least watched
15
seconds of it.
What's that?
They've at least watched 15 seconds of it.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. They watched that 15 seconds.
We'll just leave that one alone. But just so you guys know, Steve, 7th son, comes over and he leaves a dad joke, and I pin his comment in every one of my live streams.
Well, the man knows a couple of dad jokes.
Yes, just a couple.
By the way, early on tonight, because we were in the weeds and we were talking about some important stuff, and I let it go. But Anique Alexander, there were some people talking about Anique's voice. Anique has a gift. She's another one of those voices that you could just listen to forever. but it doesn't put me to sleep. And I don't mean that with disrespect at all, by the way, when I say that because I can listen to Trinity and listen to everything. But if I'm trying to go to sleep, like if I close my eyes, forget it. It's over. It's over. I mean, yeah, she's my go-to. I told her that too about 400 times. Every time I talk to her, I was like, if you knew.
You're not the only one either. That's what's crazy about it. She really does.
I believe that. Does not surprise me. But I mean, I hear this too all the time too. People, I get more. I actually went and looked this up in the back office. I have had more people ask about ASMR than anything else, which is really kind of incredible for a drug channel. But
it's crazy how anybody asking for that anyway. I mean, it's to me. I mean, I love ASMR stuff. There's, what's ASMR for me may not be for you.
Right. No, they just they literally, I guess, I've got 3 scripts we're going to be recording for a grand total of like 3 different 8-hour decks. So it's Sleep with Tommy.
Seven Son says I've left over 5,000 dad jokes on deck.
I believe that.
I do too.
I absolutely believe that.
I do too. They're good too, most of them, for dad jokes anyway. I mean,
holy hell! I'm sorry. Holy hell. What? Good for you, Squirrel Girl.
There you go, Squirrel Girl.
Get out there and make that happen.
Love
it. Love it. Absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
Now, you may have to tell your girl when she gets there. Technically, this may just be the first meeting in person, but that's okay. That's okay. It'll have a familiar feel, but there'll be a little bit more eyes. But it's the same thing. It's just peer support, man. You got this. Proud of you.
Well, it's funny. I get what just happened there. I've actually had that happen to me face to face for the lifeboat. One of my, I was in group because I'm still in an outpatient program. I do groups.
Yeah.
And one of I ran into them at, where was I at? Might have been it was at a restaurant. And I seen them, and they had their daughter with them. Their daughter walked up. You there?
Yeah.
Okay. You kind of cut out on me there for a minute. I'm not sure if it was my end or yours.
You said your daughter.
Yeah, the daughter walked up and said, "I'm going to my first meeting after we leave here."
Wow.
And I was like, "Why are you telling me that for?" Well, because I've been watching The Lifeboat. I was like, "That's local, dude. That's not even some." It's surprising and it's humbling all at the same time when that happens.
Nope, I love that. I love that. It's
you know, it's what? A great feeling. It really is.
I'm going to a big festival this weekend, but So I'm talking to these guys in Florida about a book deal, and I was down in Florida doing some stuff, and I got an opportunity to go out and meet a bunch of people from the boat, people that are crew members and things, which was awesome. It's so cool to go out and meet people in person. But every time I'm in an airport now, right, without fail, man, I'll be in an airport and someone will either walk up and go, "Hey, Tommy," or they'll just walk up and go, "6 years," right? Like they won't say they know who I am. They won't say. They'll just walk up and tell me how long they've been sober. And I think it's the coolest shit in the whole world. I swear to God, it is the coolest thing in the whole world. I just look at them and go, "Yeah," like. It's
like the loudest thing you've ever heard. At the same time, it's the quietest thing you ever heard.
Exactly.
And it's awesome.
Pride. You can hear the pride in it, and it's just
Well, see, that's what's different about what we've always done here. We don't have to go out there and take credit for any of that. Matter of fact, we did the opposite to the point where I started telling you need to take credit. And you had to say the same thing to me too. It's just not in our blood to kind of like do that. It's not what we're doing.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Never has.
It takes some getting used to.
It does.
It is cool, V. It's one of my, honestly, I think I'll say it's my favorite payout, I think, of the boat. This is weird, and it's not, I am famous because of him, right? Like I have
brother?
Absolutely, every day of my life, somebody comes up to me and recognizes me, but they recognize me as his brother. Like that's what I am famous for. But in the last probably 3 or 4 months. It's been really cool because like he'll come up and go. Do you want to hear something nuts? I go, no. He goes, somebody just said, hey man, aren't you Tommy Scoville's brother? I was like, yeah, stomping around, laughing at him. That's right. Write that down, fool. Write that down.
That's right. Heck
That's
yeah.
right. It's coming. Get used to it. It's coming. No, he's high stepping now. He's that big reality TV star.
Well, I'd love to see everybody come over and check me out and give me a chance. And
we're gonna, damn it.
I think you guys will enjoy it because we do. I do. I'm not a space weather channel or a science channel that's going to ignore the chat. I don't.
It's a connection.
A lot of channels will. Yeah. And I do have a problem squirreling. I mean, I squirrel too much sometimes. Yeah.
No.
I know.
No.
We both have that issue.
No, you don't.
I can't.
Look, without Mark, this cat wouldn't be named Squirrel either.
Well, I was bobblehead forever. Still am. See?
Yeah.
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 Bobblehead. My Funko Pops, man. Got tons. My kids hooked me up. Check this out. You probably can't read it. It's backwards.
Oh, nice.
It says, I am their father, and it's got my kids' names, the lightsaber.
I love it, man.
It's pretty cool.
You know what? Yep. We were talking about that as the misquoted, since he never does say, Luke.
Oh, Luke, is it Luke or is it no? I'm your father. That what you're talking about? Yeah. Mandela effect.
Yes, the Mandela effect, to be sure. The YouTube plaque is actually that would be a Johnny Scoville YouTube plaque.
Oh, there's the hat.
Yeah,
love it.
You didn't think I heard of it, did you? Yeah, no, I bust it out from time to time. From time to time it makes the. As I was walking in, it actually sits in a place of honor. But as I was walking in today, I thought, you know what? If ever I'm going to bust the hat out, it'll probably be with Captain Mark here. So, I got
a picture of you with that hat and that same shirt on, and we'll use it.
Is that right?
The thumbnails, if you remember. It's got all your different facial expressions and stuff.
Yep, I think I do remember that. Yeah.
Yep. Back at you, Monk.
What? Huh?
Love you all. Really do.
Yeah, you know what? People, here's the thing. And I've been saying this now for probably 2 or 3 months. I really started to watch how important this connection thing was as I got closer to the cult. And I got closer to the second generation people leaving Scientology and watching all of that. And I came to realize that I saw people connecting in places where I thought, that channel's got nothing to do with anything having to do with, it doesn't matter. What matters is that people get together and hang out in the comments section, begin to build neural pathways literally by talking to one another, right? Incredible things happen when we begin to interact. And live format YouTube, live format platforms give an opportunity for that to happen. And if you're lucky, you might learn something cool in the process. And space weather happens to be something that works pretty well that way. Like I can groove to listening to it. I never
would have known who Rabbit was or Aaron was or anybody unless you did that.
It's
at least not right away.
It's a fun world, man.
Yeah,
it really is. This entire process is
eyes
nothing
open,
shy
baby.
of amazing. Yeah, it is nothing shy. So I got a couple of questions for you personally. Yeah. So the Carrington event gets brought up every single time somebody tries to explain space weather, right? It's one of the first things that people, if you go to a space weather channel, you're not going to be in the comment section more than a few minutes until you read somebody that brings up the Carrington event. How overdue do you think we are for one of the same size? Is there any way to predict that?
Yes, you can kind of predict the season and not the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's historic data because, believe it or not, tracking sunspots has been going on for a very long time. I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of years.
I believe that.
So, but there's also big events that happen. Now, the Carrington event didn't cause sedimentary changes where you can go back that far and look, but you can look at patterns, and there's patterns within patterns and things like that. But to answer your question simply, yes, we're overdue. And a lot of people do think it's going to happen this sun or next sun cycle. I would say this: the sun can do what it wants, when it wants, and how it wants to do it. We can't stop it, but what we can do is pay attention. And I say this about at the beginning of every stream, because like you said, they start talking about the Carrington event, right?
Yep.
Well, that's an immediate fear thing, and I tell these guys, or they'll say grid down. I see that a lot.
Grid down.
And
grid down. Yep.
If it's
grid down
going to
event.
be grid down, if it's going to be grid down, that's going to be the first thing that comes out of my mouth if I'm able to get to a computer screen.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right away. So, and that's what I'm trying to say. We don't need to be afraid of it. You make bad decisions when you're in fear. Knee-jerk decisions get made. Hey, Jennifer. Awesome mod. Anyway, the bad decisions get made when you're fearful, right?
Right.
So if I can get the people that are listening to me to have a basic understanding that one day they wake up and their power's not there and the rest of the world's wondering why,
yeah,
they don't have to wonder, and therefore they're not as scared. Now there's going to be concern no matter what happens. I mean, you lose your power for however long or whatever, it's going to put a little kink in your thing, but you don't have to. You make better decisions because it's not a shock scare. When you get a shock scare, that's as scared as you've ever been. You know, you get the fight or flight. You make really bad decisions in those moments.
Absolutely.
So if I can help that at all, just by giving people a basic understanding, hey, if you wake up one day and your power's not on, and you go out and try to turn your car on, it don't start. Those two things right there should tell you right away that something has happened from the sun. If those two things happen simultaneously, there's no other question. That's what would happen.
Yep. I'm glad that
not
you
to mention
said that the way you did.
You would see aurora at the equator too. So
right, that'll be a dead giveaway as well.
People on the North Pole would have to go outside and look south to see the aurora.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So anyway, yeah, I know we're way over time for the algorithm here.
No, I don't give a rat's can. What do you think of that? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the assessment that something is more important than your fear. Love that.
Well said.
Absolutely love that. That is a beautiful quote. I love it. So the one of the things that people talk about constantly with things like grid down situations, right? The electromagnetic pulse, right? The big ejection from the sun will do the exact same thing, correct?
A CME will do essentially what an EMP does.
Okay.
It is a blast of it will. It completely disenergizes everything. And you got to think that the Earth is going through space like a boat goes through water, except the Earth is going through particles instead of water. So we're always getting hit from the sun at all times from solar wind. So when we get the big blast of plasma, you can think of as the wake is going out and around. So when we get the bigger blast in front of you, it will compress that bow shock. And if it gets compressed too close, we've lost satellites because of it. Satellites are built with safe mode. And matter of fact, this just happened with that X-flare. One of the weather satellites, GOES 16. You guys might even know that because we use it for satellite weather, for weather reporting here on the planet. That satellite went offline on its own because it detected all that and it shut off so it wouldn't be destroyed. And
wow.
So what that means is that our bow shock had gotten compressed in, and that satellite had no longer had the protection of our magnetic field. It was completely exposed to everything. Yeah. So that's what happened. The satellite's fine because it got booted back up and it did what it was supposed to.
Yeah, that's just
But
the foresight for the people that built that thing to
have that. Yeah, exactly.
We've come a long way from not being able to figure out that in 1999 we were going to switch over to 2000, right?
Y2K. Yeah, for sure. The computers were going to kill us then. I mean, this is what was going to happen then. You're going to be so confused and everything was going to be gone. But no, what's different about this stuff is it is historically trackable. The patterns are there, and you can't deny it. So when you start seeing signs of it, like our magnetic field weakening, those kinds of things, our pole positions are moving. They're moving faster and in a direction they didn't think they were going to. They will meet at the equator or close to it. Right. And when that happens, the magnetic field goes completely down. And so that means just like that satellite was getting exposed to all that space weather, we no longer have that. So it starts ripping parts of our atmosphere off. Now, it regenerates, okay, because our magnetic field is generated from the core of the planet. So it will regenerate, but it has to do that flip. And that's what the sun cycle is. It's a polarity flip on the sun every 11 years. That's what it does. Yeah. It just doesn't have the, so if you put that to what we're talking about with the Earth, you got solar max for like 5 to 6 years sometimes. And I wish I had 2 pictures to show you, because if you look at the pictures of the sun during solar max, the solar minimum, you'll know what I'm talking about when we're talking about the difference of a cycle.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying. It's all historic, and you can see the graphs and everything else. And I go over that a lot on my channel, almost every video, but I do it really, really quickly, and I keep it basic. I'm not going to throw salad at you guys. Just don't. It's just not.
I love this.
It's not helpful.
When I saw my neighbor, a federal agent, hoarding water, I did too. Solid advice, Danny. I like where you're going with that. For real. You see a federal agent, next door neighbor, hoarding a little water, might not be such a bad idea to grab a little. I like it.
That's right.
Honestly.
I do look at things through a prepper's kind of visor. I just think it's smart.
That was my next question. I have switched. By the way, Ann Hummingbird, I would hit on you in a minute, so knock that off. But I have changed my mindset on the prepping thing. 180 degrees. You know, I mean, you and I talked about this when the boat when we first started the channel, and I was never somebody that was anti prepper. I'm not a guy that I always just kind of assume that when the crap hits the fan, I'll be. Honestly, I kind of always. This is going to sound terrible.
Yeah.
But I kind of figured, you know what? I've been in hell. I just got out of it. Spent 13 years there. All right. If it gets bad out here, I probably will make it. Like that's terrible, but that's kind of been my philosophy. And these days, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm a little old, and maybe I'm not ready to take care of myself as well as I was in the past. Perhaps I might just be better off to put a little food up, you know. But
people always ask me. Well, they ask me, you know, how much should I prep and what should I do? You know, because that is a question that I feel like I need to address it from time to time, because I'm telling you, bad things could happen sometimes. So What good am I doing if I'm just going to say, hey, the bad things are going to happen and then turn my back, right? I'm not going to do that. I tell people to take yourself to a prepping level where you feel comfortable. Prep. A good way to get started is just to prep for like a hurricane. Some sort of short-term natural thing that happens here on our planet. Start there. And then take yourself to the point where you think you're comfortable of staying in that, and then go one step further and be done. Because that level is going to be different for everybody. What I think I need to make myself comfortable is going to be different than what you are. So, but there are like life straws, like those, you know what a life straw is?
Yes.
Where it's a filter. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that.
Literally can drink out of damn near anything.
Yeah. Those are all that kind of stuff is what is basic prepping. You need at least one of those for every member of your family.
Yep.
Water purification, tablets probably. And, you know, and again, this really gets into what you want to do. Some people, you know, they're not going to bug out. They're going to bug in.
Right.
So they're preparing to stay at their house. And unfortunately, I can't do that because I live in not going to be around population when this all goes down. If it does go down in my lifetime, I'm getting away from population because that's where most of the deaths going to come from.
Right.
It's going to come from your neighbor when they start starving them.
That's right. From people not treating one another the way that they ought to be treating one another.
And just to put that in, I'll end with this, Tom. That the percentage is if the power goes out, we lose our power for an extended period of time. You can automatically assume 90% of the population is gone.
Yeah.
That's what it will do. So do you want to have a chance at that 10%? You know, it doesn't mean that our world's going to suck. It just means we don't have electricity and nobody knows how to function with that stuff anymore without that stuff. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. You know, like Britt, he was trying to get a hold of Johnny to get some seeds for peppers because he grows, right? And he's doing it for prepping things. So, I mean, that's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But again, you go where you're comfortable. And if you're getting scared from anything that you're watching that I say or anybody else says, turn it off. Come back later. Don't be scared. It's not worth it.
Well, scared doesn't pay off. It's the same. It's the exact same thing. Honestly, every single day people reach out and they say, you know what, I'm trying to get clean. And if the drug of choice is fentanyl, right? And now almost everybody I talk to, the drug of choice is fentanyl, and they're afraid that the next dose is going to kill them, but they're terrified of what it's going to take to get clean off of it. And fear is just the overriding. And every single time, like once I can say to somebody, hey, guess what? We can do this without you getting sick. I promise. All of a sudden, everything just changes. Their eyes change. People slow down. The questions get different. Now the questions get real serious. Like, when can we start this crap? How quickly can we get this going? Right. Because fear makes people get irrational and it's a bad thing. It really is.
No, it is. That's the Achilles heel of everybody.
That's a great way to put it. Scared or prepared, which will hurt more.
Awesome.
I like it.
Very well said.
And Hummingbird, you got that memo, right? By the way, one of my resolutions for 2024 is I'm bringing back the compliment without apology, right? So I'm telling women that I think that they're beautiful if I think that without apology. Also, I used to say to people, hey, I'm really proud of you. Right? I'm really proud of you. And people along the way have said, it's condescending for you. Guess what? Get over it. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. If I say I'm proud of you because you're getting clean or sober or whatever, guess what? I got the right. I'm proud of you. So in 2024, I'm bringing that back too. I'm tired of all the dumb stuff.
For it.
We're gonna say things like, you look good. I'm proud of you. I love you. Those kind of things. We're doing it. Yeah.
How is that negative? I don't want to know.
Well, it's amazing. Like,
I'm proud of you, Tommy.
I will say things like, hey, you know what? You look beautiful. And you get someone who will say, oh, so what? That's the only part of me that matters? You just go, no, I just really thought it was a great ensemble for F's sake. I didn't get a chance to see the rest of you. Good looking outfit. Sorry, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
But no, from now on, when someone says, that's not the rest of me, my new comeback is no. And I have no desire to learn the rest of you. I was hoping to actually get to that part. But you were something to look at anyway. Have a nice day.
That's awesome.
I saw a bunker on TikTok for billionaires. Let me tell you something. If you're a billionaire, right, your bunker might be nice. You're still going to be in a bunker, right? I would just assume be out with the poor folks, seeing if we can't fix this world, right? Have fun hiding. I'm not so sure
going down in the ground's the right thing to do, but it is what it is.
may not be the place you want to be. Yeah.
Because you got to understand, seismic activity is going to increase too.
Yeah.
Just saying. Do you want to be crushed, or would you rather have a chance building a fire or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
It's what it is.
No, I agree with you. Kristen, I know that we're talking about heavy stuff. I apologize. But Kristen, by the way, you look beautiful. So live with it. Monk, he's with me. It's part of my New Year's resolution.
There you go. And just because you think somebody's beautiful doesn't necessarily mean you're talking about their body.
That's right. I was talking about this earlier, man.
I'm not saying that ain't the case here. I'm just,
beautiful.
that's,
beautiful is a choice and a creature, right? There's
happiness
really
is a choice. That's for sure. I teach my kids that every day, man. Happiness is a choice. You got to choose it.
That's true.
You got to go get it, man.
This is interesting, isn't it? And the 10% will treat those elites how? Often wondered about that personally. Yeah. You know something? I have had the misfortune of being in a place where society breaks down, and I hope none of us are here for it when it happens.
You know what I would say? Go on the internet and look at the Earth without water, and then tell me if you really want to go underground. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the idea of the whole arid thing. Oh,
I ain't saying it can't
look at that
protect you or something.
Cat.
Yeah,
protect
you short term, but
I'm all for a little short term. I'll tell you what I want. I've been very, very open about this. What I want is 2 solar systems. Solar arrays setups. I want one hooked up, and then I want one in a Faraday cage in case the one that I got hooked up gets cooked.
Goes bad. Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. And then I will feel like I am fully prepped. That way, when it's all said and done, it's not that I want to be the only guy on the block that can eat. I want to be the only guy on the block that can watch Family Guy and eat. You know what I mean? That's what I want. In air conditioning, right? And be able to charge my Tesla, which I haven't bought yet, but that's coming too. So yeah, my wants are small. Of course, my Tesla will also have to be in a Faraday cage along with my car, half my town. Maybe I'll just build a Faraday cage over all of Tucson. Might be easier.
Go watch that show called The Last of Us. I know you don't watch TV and stuff.
I can't. You know what? You want to hear something fantastic? So there's a person on the lifeboat who's visually impaired. They've never seen me. They just listen to me.
Okay.
And they sent me an email and said, I go to the movies all the time. Like, you can go to movies. They said, I go to every movie that comes out. And they explained to me that there were seats in the theater that I can go and sit in. And I will, to make sure I don't open my eyes and end up with migraines, I'll just bring like a blackout pair of glasses or whatever. But I can go in and listen to it because even now, like, I can listen. I'll listen to stuff all the time. I just can't. Like, I listened to Johnny's reality show. I didn't watch it because it's pretty well edited. And will give me a
right.
I watched the first like 15 minutes and I had already had a headache. But no, I'm absolutely going to be going out and doing that. I'm pretty fired up about it. I'm excited. Cool. I didn't realize it was an option, but when you go to a theater and you put on the hearing impaired, all they're doing is stage direction. So it'll say like, they approach a castle from the west, right? So you go, oh, all right, all that crap makes sense.
Oh, so they're narrating for you.
They're narrating for you, and then you hear the rest.
That's cool.
Then you listen to it. Yeah, then you listen. And I tend to put it all together anyway. You'd be really surprised how much you can get from listening to a movie rather than watching and listening to one. It's really incredible. But there's things that you miss, and apparently I will not be missing anything. They told me.
Well, even if you can just glance up every great once in a while, you know what I mean, just to kind of catch a peek and then turn.
As long as during the long sweeping scenes, it's just when they start editing it really, really fast,
jumping back and forth and all that flashing and crap. Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
go for it, brother.
We ran it a little long, but
okay.
That's always.
Hey, I had a good time.
Hey, the door is open, man. You can come here literally every single time.
I'm just now, as you know, I'm getting back on the horse. So I mean, I took a break from my channel too. So
yeah.
I'm just now getting back into the algorithm a little bit. My views are going up. I'm consistently posting every day now.
Nice.
Something I haven't been able to accomplish, and
actually, I've been over there looking, and the views are reflecting that. So it's a beautiful thing.
They are. They are.
Thing. Proud of you.
Yep. Well, hey, that's a good comment there, Aliyah.
No, I'm going to tell you something, Aliyah, and this is what's going to happen. As soon as because when you're watching a film and you hear that first right? You know exactly what's coming. There's no doubt in your mind. And then that's when you dive on the person next to you. Because I promise you, even with those glasses on, I'm going to know exactly where the.
Yeah, if you go into a theater, you got to pay quarters to go in. You might not want to go in that place.
Well, I mean,
Just saying.
We don't think they call those theaters anymore. Calhoun, are you shaven? I think, did my son shave? Sorry, I may have hallucinated.
Is he manscaping?
No. It was just the light. It was the light. It looked like he might have, but it's the light.
Well, thanks for having me, Tommy.
Are you joking me, man? I'm honored to beat hell to have you back on here. For those just getting here or those just leaving, this is Captain Mark Wages, the other half of the lifeboat. Also, the mind behind Wages World. If you have not gone over and hit subscribe, do so. I promise you, you will learn an awful lot and stuff that you think, well, it's interesting, may not affect my life much, but it's interesting. I promise you, you have no idea how much it affects your life. This thing will not work right. Mark will make you understand why.
Yep.
This will not work right. Mark will make you understand why. I would say stuff to Mark when the two of us work together. I would say, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I'm doing this, and this, and I'm struggling. And you go, guess what just happened? And it was so often that I would complain that it got to the point where I would say to him, what's going on out there? And
yep.
Right? Because I know something's going on with me. It does. It affects you. There's no way around it.
Yep, sure does. When you start seeing Arctic birds in Florida that you should not be seeing ever.
Right.
Ever been. The pup birds, that just happened last week in Florida. That has never happened before in history. So
we got a lot of really
we got some stuff going on. I mean, again, I can't pinpoint all of it either, but thank you, Kelly. I appreciate
Heather says I always need to be learning. Good stuff, Heather. You know what? The day you stop learning, I promise you start going in the wrong direction in life. I mean, really and honestly, there's science to back this up, right? Knowledge, right, comes from that us seeking out things we do not know, which means it's novel, right? Novel is a direct, it directly equates to how much your body releases endorphins, right? And when your body releases endorphins, we automatically remember the things that we are doing more. So you want to create memories, you want to create new ones, do things you've never done before, learn things you don't know about. We've covered all of this stuff about a bazillion times.
I say this a lot. The second you think you know everything about any subject, the second you quit learning, you're done. If you think you know everything about a subject, why are you even having the conversation anymore? Right. If you're not open-minded at all to anything new, your learning has now stopped, and that's not healthy. So,
you're 100% right, man. You really are. By the way, Day Girl, not open for discussion. You're hot. Save some time. Again, sorry, I'm not trying to be rude or anything else, but it's just a lot quicker. It really is. It's just a lot quicker. I know that the world has screwed up women in general. I have a daughter. He has a daughter. We're well aware of this. We've talked about it a million times. The world has sadly really done a disservice to women across the board. And for that reason, they tend to not realize when they're really divinely attractive. Davey, you do not need any assistance. You have my word. And I wouldn't lie to you. I wouldn't. This is the legendary Mark Wages, Jen Marie. I know that a lot of you are coming are getting here a little late. We didn't start at our normal time. I started about an hour early, so we've been going for about an hour and 43 minutes. But this is Captain Mark Wages, and you will absolutely love.
I'll be back. You're going to come on my channel too.
I'm ready.
You're coming.
Just let me know when. You let me know. I'm heading to Albuquerque, New Mexico over the weekend. By the way, if you live in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, reach out. Come out and see Captain Tommy. Right? I'm not going to be there again in the next couple of weeks. Right? So get out there, check me out. Come.
You and Johnny going to that show, right?
We are, and we're dragging Spanx Calhoun whether he likes it or not.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought about Mark Wages is adorable, says Ann Hummingbird. See that? And
well, thank you.
Yeah, you will. And he's a excellent instructor. You will really dig him over on Wages World. And as he said, I'm going to be going on there soon. I will let the boat know what day that's going to be, but I'm going to absolutely pressure him on that. I'm not joking. So that's something that'll be happening in the very near future. I'm this close to 20,000. I'm going on every show I can go on, people. I'm this close to 20,000.
We'll get you there.
I know. I have no doubt. You got me to the 1,000. You got me to the first one. No real reason why.
Johnny had a lot to do with that too. So,
he did.
All right, guys.
There's no question, man. No question. I was blessed from Jump Street. Two of the greatest instructors and best friends and brothers a guy could have. Mark, I love you, man. I'm glad you're here, and we will see you on another one soon. Man. People, that's the cat in the basket. Spanx, where are you at?
He's the top.
Jen Marie hit 100. The hardest to hit, Jen Marie. The hardest to hit. By the way, you know how it works, right? Okay. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Should I sub with my late husband's name? Absolutely. Of course you should. All right, people. That is the news. And I am out of here. We'll see you on the next one, people. Bye-bye.